Good morning, class.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning to you again. Right. Before beginning with the lesson today, I have a motivational activity for you. It is called a hangman game. Right, hangman game. So, looking at this word, can you tell me, like from the basic one, what could it be? What
Sponge.
Sponge, right? Correct. It looks like a sponge. Is it that words are same? Like what words will go here? Can you tell me?
P,
P,
O, and N.
P. Second one.
O,
O,
N.
N. Right. Sponge. Good. Since you have since your spellings are correct and the answer is correct, sponge. Right. So this wraps up our motivation activity. Is you basically know what is it, how to do motivation activity. Right. So moving on. Right. Like from your previous lesson, can you tell me what did you learn? What was your previous lesson?
Tally.
Tiling. Previous lesson was tiling. Correct. Um, referring to tiling again, what did you learn about? What did you learn about tiling? Can you tell me?
The different types of tools used for tiling.
Correct. The different types of tools used for tiling. Can you name some of the tools used?
Chalk line.
Chalk line. Correct. Number 2.
Tape measure.
Tape measure or measuring tape. Number 3.
Tile cutter.
Tile cutter. Last one. 4.
Sponge.
Sponge. Right. Sponge was basically the same that we have done as a motivational activity. Right. Let's move on to machines and engines. I mean the topic. The topic that we are going to do is machines and engines. Under machines and engines, we will discuss on the topic on portable circular power saw. Right, power saw. Power tools or a portable circular saw are basically categorized into 3 parts. The first one is cutting. Second one is fixing. And last one is finishers. Basically, can you tell me under which category would a circular saw fall in from your knowledge?
Cutting.
Cutting, correct. Circular saw will fall under cutting, right? The name circular saw is governed by its blade, because a circular saw has a circular blade. So the name comes from the blade. So for this it has a circular blade. Right. Moving on. Right. I have a model here. Like this is a portable circular power saw. So I hope you know you have used it somewhere.
Yes, sir.
Right. Maybe your homes or places you have worked with someone.
Yes, sir.
You basically know some of the main safety precautions of it, the usage. Some you don't, some you know. I'll explain everything in this lesson. Right. Moving on. Right. For the safety operations. Right. Number 1. Number 1, keep fingers and hands clear of the blade. Keep fingers and hands clear of the blade. Basically, looking at this circular saw, we must, a person must never put his fingers close to the blade, because if the fingers are close to the blade, and once the blade is spinning, accidents can happen, and fingers can get stuck or get in front of the blade, and which can cause serious injuries. So keep fingers clear of the blade. So fingers must be away from the blade. Right. Second one will be keep the work area clean. Work area clean from offcuts. Work area clean is basically while working at a required place, you must clear the space around the workpiece, because when you will be cutting this, when you will be using this circular saw, other offcuts will cause a disturbance to you while cutting, and when cutting it, if offcuts are there, you will basically use one hand to clear it while you will be cutting it. In that case, you could end up damaging the pieces of wood that you are cutting. So main thing, clear the workpiece before cutting it. Right. Number 3, you need to, I hope you are taking note of these points that we are discussing.
Yes, sir.
Right. After the cutting, operator, after the cutting is complete, ensure that the guard is back to its position. Right. The guard should be back to its place. Like once you are cutting, like you'll cut normal, you cut it. Now, once you have removed this piece, the circular saw from the workpiece, the blade must be returned back to its normal place. Because if the blade is not removed, and if you place it somewhere, the blades can get damaged. So main thing is, you must push the blade guard back to its original place after cutting. I hope you've got it.
Yes, sir.
Right. Moving on to number 4. Right, number 4. Always switch off before removing the timber. Always switch off the machine before removing from the timber. Always switch off. When using machines, the first thing is, when you are cutting it and when you want to remove the circular saw from the timber piece, first of all, you'll need to switch off the machines. Then once the machine is switched off and the blade has come to a halt or stop at a stationary point, then you should remove it, because if the blade is on, blade is continuously rotating, because a blade rotates very fast. So to avoid any offcuts, is when you remove it when the blade is when the blade is on, continue moving, it could cause damages, as it will try to slip from your hand. So to avoid that thing, you need to switch off the power, then remove the blade, so you don't damage the pieces of wood. Right. Let's move. I hope you are getting what I have told you.
Yes, sir.
Right. Let's move on to number 5. Right. 5 is never use the saw above your head. Head. Using the saw above your head is basically you must never use it, because in this position you will never be able to properly operate a machine. First of all, because circular saws are very heavy. Secondly, while operating it above your head, it will be very difficult, because one of your hand should be placed near the blade on the sides of this, on this, and one hand will be on the grip. You will find it difficult to hold it on top here and to press the trigger. And if in case you are a bit careless, and if it trips, the blade will be on full speed. It will be rotating at a high RPM. So if it falls down, you could injure your foot, or it could cause serious injuries to you. Sometimes you could even lose some of your body parts, because if the blade falls on your body, or the whole machine falls, and it's also very heavy. So you must never ever use a circular saw above your head. Always below the waistline. Waistline to allow proper grip with one hand and one hand on the trigger. I hope you have got it.
Yes, sir.
Right. Right. Always number 6. Always wear safety glasses and hearing protection. Hearing protection, basically it refers to earmuffs. Earmuffs must be always worn when working with circular saws, because circular saws produce an extensive noise. It is loud. And to avoid having hearing problems, a person must always wear earmuffs before doing the work. Now, another one, safety glasses. Safety glasses must also be worn, because when working with circular saws, dust particles and pieces of wood will fly from the exhaust part. Basically, the dust will move in from here, and since it is close to your body and for your face, as your head will be down, it will cause problems. So you must always wear glasses, safety goggles. Goggles are important for better safe operations. Right, moving on to number 7. Switch off the power and remove the plug before making any adjustments to the saw. Switch off the power. Like when working, since this is a plug, if it is attached to the power point, you must remove it, then you must make adjustments. Adjustments can be made through an adjuster here, an angle adjuster here, protector. It's basically a protector. So if the machine is on, and if you basically put one hand, mistakenly put hands on the trigger, and your hand is near the blade, you could end up injuring your fingers. I hope you get it.
Yes, sir.
If you don't understand anything, you can ask. Anything since we discussed here?
So why is protector scale used?
Protector scale. Alright, that's a good question. Protector scale is used to tilt the blade at an angle, like for ripping or rebating or cross cutting. Cross cutting at an angle, a protector is used to switch the angles. Looking at this, there's an angle here. So once you loosen and pull it up, the blade will tilt at a 30-degree angle for better side cuttings. I hope you get it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay, you can take note of it. Alright, since adjust, right, that will be all. So I have furthermore, I have prepared a chart for you to better understand it. I hope you can read what is on this chart. Can you read it? Can you read it? Can you read it?
Yes, sir.
Alright. Clearly, right. That's good. Like the chart basically shows the cutting operation of such a cutting operations of a circular saw. It is one is ripping, cross cutting, grooving, rebiting, compound cutting. Basically, this will be discussed in the next lesson. As it is also associated with ripping and rebiting and grooving. Basically, it will use the protector scale to tilt it at an angle. Only then will you be able to do the grooving and rebatings. Right. For the parts, let's start from the left. Handle. Handle for better gripping. Next, motor housing. This is a motor housing where the motor will be stored that will provide power to the blade for rotating. Continue noting it down. You'll use it during your activity time.
Yes, sir.
Right. Protector scale. Basically, I have explained what a protector scale is used for. I hope you know it. For tilting at a 30-degree angle. Right. Next, freehand cutting guide. Freehand cutting guide is basically something that looks like this. It is aligned to the blade to allow straight cutting lines. So when cutting it, you will know where you are cutting and whether you are cutting on a straight line or you are tilting it in different directions while cutting and making different offcuts. Next is a blade guard. Blade guard, important. This is called a blade guard. Blade guard is basically there to protect the blade from the timber. Blade from the timber and from the pieces of wood. Next, we have a saw blade. Blade. Right, we have a blade. This is a blade. Blade is basically used for cutting the timber. I hope you get it.
Yes, sir.
Right. And now the last one is fixing bolt. Fixing bolt is basically used to attach the blade to the saw. It should be tight enough so that it does not fall. I hope you get it.
Yes, sir.
Right. And last one, trigger switch. Trigger switch is something which will control the speed of the saw. Once you press the trigger, the blade will start to rotate. Once you leave the trigger, the blade will stop. There's another part here for continuous rotation without using your fingers to continuously press. You'll basically learn this in other classes. I hope you have basically gone through and understood what I have discussed in this chart. Was this helpful to you in any way?
Yes, sir.
Right. If not, I have a video presentation for you to look at it and understand on how to operate a circular saw. So, get around, we'll just...
Hi, this is Lee, and I want to show you how to operate a circular saw. Now, whenever making adjustments to a circular saw or any power tool, make certain that you unplug the tool. This tool is unplugged, so let's take a look at some of the features here. Starting at the bottom, there are two important features with the shoe. Number one, you can change the angle of the shoe to make what's called a bevel cut. The front of the saw, there's a wing nut, and if you loosen it, it allows the shoe to slide. So if you want to alter the angle of the cut, you would loosen the wing nut and adjust the bevel. So I'm going to slide it back to 0 here, so it's just going to make a straight cut, and I'll tighten that up. Now on the back of the saw, just a little bit of blade exposed on the bottom. We're looking at maybe, I don't know, maybe 1/4 of an inch. And then you lock the blade by pulling down on the lever. You lock this blade into place. This saw comes with a safety trigger. Well, what does that mean? Well, what it means is I can depress the trigger and the saw is not going to come off. The saw will only start when I pull the trigger and push this button. The next feature I want to bring to your attention is the guard. And all circular saws have a guard. And it's just to protect you. It's just an added layer of protection against injury. Because if the backside of the blade was exposed, as it is there, without a guard, your clothing could easily get snagged. Or you could lean up against the blade. But with a guard, a safety guard, that's less likely going to happen. So let's make a cut. Remember, wear your safety glasses, and I'm going to demonstrate how this all works. Now what you want to do is you want to start the blade with the blade back away from the surface you're going to cut. So now you know how to use a circular saw. And a circular saw is a very good general purpose tool to have around the house. In anybody's toolbox, this is a great addition. Well, this is Leah saying, you can do this.
Alright, class, since the video presentation is over, have you seen how does a blade guard goes up while you are cutting the tool?
Yes, sir.
Right, that's how a blade guard works. It automatically goes up once you are cutting, it automatically comes on. Sometimes gets stuck, so you have to basically pull it down. You have seen how an adjuster was controlled?
Yes, sir.
Right, adjuster. Basically, this is a adjuster was here, the protector screen, and how it is done, and how easy is it to operate a circular saw. Personal protective equipment must be worn. As you can see, the demonstrator was wearing overalls, which is a key component to wear to avoid dust. Basically, right. So since we have done this, there's one more thing that is important in safe operations of a circular saws. That is the blade, the usage of blades, which will be use the correct blade. When working, you must never use a blade that is not of that particular tool. Like a tool I can say is like a grinder and a circular saw. You must never use a circular saw blade in a grinder and a grinder blade on circular saw. You must always use the blade that is intended for the particular saw and the purpose. For circular saw, you must never put the blade in a grinder because sometimes the blade can break due to the momentum of speed that each machine has different momentum of speed of the rotation. So to avoid any kind of injuries to happening and any problems, you must never use different blades in different tools. Use the intended blade. I hope you have understood it.
Yes, sir.
You need to take note of it because it is important. Right. Since we have done this, I have shown you a model, the video presentation. I have prepared a worksheet activity for you to do it. You have basically around 4 to 5 minutes. Since it is easy questions, then you will be able to complete it. I'll move around and monitor the progress. Meanwhile, if you need any help, you can raise your hand and ask for me. I'll be glad to help you in it. So you can start doing it. Any help? If you need any help, call me. Right. The chart is already up here. You can refer to the chart if the question is intended for it.
Sir, can you explain me this?
Can you repeat the question?
Can you explain me this question?
This question. Why is blade guard important? Blade guard is important. It is important for two main things. Basically, like for protecting the blade and for protecting the fingers. Just like shown in the demonstration, the video. Same thing. Have you get it?
Yes, sir.
Right. Your question number 2 is correct. I mean, what you are doing is basically correct. So keep up the good work and just complete the rest. Okay, and yours, any question for yours? And do you have another 1 minute to complete it? The questions are very, I have seen that many of you are about to complete it, as the questions are easy for you, since you have discussed the main things here and you are finding it easy to solve it. So another 1 minute before I collect it. And do you need any more help? Do you understand it?
Yes, sir.
Right, much better. Alright, time's up. Drop your pens and get out your red pens for marking. Right, question number 1, let's mark. Question 1, why is a blade guard important? Can you tell me?
To prevent the fingers from being cut by the blade.
Right. To prevent the fingers from being cut by the blade. Right? If you have got it correct, give a tick. If not, cross it off and note it down with a pen for the correction. Right. Question number 2. Name some parts of a circular saw.
Guard,
Guard, correct. Another one,
handle,
handle, correct.
blade,
Blade. And one last one,
code.
code. Right. Code is basically the wire that is going on that will connect the circular saw, the motor housing to the power switch. So question number 3, set the different method of cutting using circular saw.
Cross cutting,
Cross cutting, right? We have cross cutting here. Another rebating, right? Rebating, cross cuttings, and all this is included in the method of cutting operations. So if you have got it all correct, give a tick and file it. And if you have got anything wrong, mark a cross, note down the correct answers, and you do the corrections. Is that okay with you?
yes, sir.
Right. Let's conclude the lesson. Basically, can you tell me what have you learnt from this lesson? What are some of the things you have learned?
Parts of circular saw,
Parts of circular saws,
safety measures,
safety measures. Safety measures will basically include these things: 1 to 8, keeping fingers clean, work area to be clean. The guard is to be back and using the correct blade. Any other thing you have learned we would like to share? Alright. Always remember that when working with circular saws, you must always wear safety goggles and gloves to protect, and you must always have proper personal protective equipment with you whenever working with circular saws and other machines. And since you know all this basic knowledge, for your follow-up work, question was written on your activity sheet. Other questions are there. You can basically answer them as your follow-up work. We will mark it in the next lesson before doing another lesson.
yes, sir.
So that will be all. Thank you.